What is up, everyone?
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm Nathan Marzian, joined by Brandon Eckel. And let's see. First off, I want to say that right now, in case people might be tuning into this to get a distraction from the fact that the Cubs are putting a beat down on the Brewers right now. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yes, I'm still salty about the game yesterday. The Cubs should have won, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. We got some free agency to talk about. We're going to discuss the Bucks moves. Um, Nothing crazy obviously has happened, but still worth discussing. The decisions they've made and bringing everyone back. And then we're going to have our Tuesday top 10, which we are doing top 10 NBA players under 25. So it should be fun. And yeah, let's get into it. So obviously, free agency started last week, and the Bucks are basically electing to run it back. And they brought back every one of their free agents. Warwick can still leave, but they did extend a qualifying offer to him. They brought back Bobby. They brought back Pat. They brought back Wes. They brought back Javon Carter. They brought back Thanasis. They brought back Serge Ibaka, which was kind of surprising. Everyone's back. And so I want to get your take on it. I kind of tweeted my thoughts on it multiple times. In my opinion, you had a team that was one win away from beating the Eastern Conference champions, almost NBA champions. And you're adding Chris Middleton to that. You're adding Joe Ingles to that. And to me, that's good enough. And to me, you had a championship level team. You had a team that if they were healthy, they're probably back in the finals. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that. So I have no problem with them not making any big moves, not making any huge upgrades. Now they can still trade if they want to. They can potentially trade they can trade all throughout the season too. It's not like this is the only time they can trade players, but who knows? Maybe they packaged Grayson and George Hill for someone to try to get another upgrade. But even if they don't, again, you had a team that if they're healthy, they could probably back in the finals. No reason to shake things up a ton. You add Joe Ingles, you draft Beauchamp. I'm happy with it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy too. Very happy. Get our guys back, and it's kind of tough. I feel like I don't know what you think, but to upgrade at this point because kind of have your main guys tied up now, and it's like okay, you only guys maybe you're shopping really is like Grayson, George Hill, Wara. It's like I don't know who you could really get for that. Maybe some team would take a chance, but I like the Joe Ingles signing. I'm glad we got all our guys back. And yeah, like you said, we get Middleton back. So I'm happy with this roster for sure.
What did people expect them to do? They didn't
Right.
have, unless you're making some crazy trade, trading Brook Lopez, who there's only like two players I would even be comfortable trading Brook Lopez for, which are Mo Bamba and Miles Turner, by the way. But then it's like you're not going to trade Chris or Drew, and it's like besides that, you're like nothing's really good. Like you don't need to trade Pat, Bobby, any of those guys, Wes, even like there's no reason to get rid of them. I don't know what people wanted them to do. It's like you don't have cap space. You don't have a ton of tradable assets.
No.
Even coming into this, it's like, okay, they had the taxpayer mid-level exception, which was 6.4 million, and basically just vet minimum contracts. That's pretty much all they had to give out, unless they wanted to get rid of Bobby or Pat or someone like that, which why would you want to do that? So I'm like, keeping a championship team together, even though it's boring, like, and you're not making any huge moves, you're not making any huge upgrades, that's a win in itself. Like that is, you got to keep the team together. Like they easily could have lost Bobby. They easily could have lost Pat, lost Wesley Matthews. And those are key guys. Like those are guys that had a big role on the team. And if you lose them, then you're left trying to replace them. And it's not a sure thing that you can. It's like, just keep your guys. Like, I don't know how this is seen as a bad thing. People act like we're not improving. I mean, again, you added Joe Ingles, who I wasn't a huge fan of I liked the signing. I didn't love that it was for the full taxpayer mid-level, only because I liked Otto Porter, number one, but number two, just it's a little bit risky. He didn't play much of last season. He's coming off a torn ACL. He's going to be 35. Wasn't great last season, but in terms of what he can bring and what he consistently has brought, like it's a fit. He can handle the ball off the bench. He can shoot. Hopefully the defense is good enough. It kind of wasn't great last year, but it was, still okay. He's always been kind of a at least tough defender, a guy who plays hard on that end of the floor. But that's a good. I mean, that's a good signing. Like that's
Yeah.
one of the guys we talked about on our podcast. How we wanted him. Like we said we'd be happy with him. You draft Beauchamp, which I'm happy they kept that pick. I'm happy they got someone young on the roster to kind of start to develop.
Mm-hmm.
I just they made a couple nice moves. Everything else they just kept together, which again, keeping things together isn't like a given. Like it's not just you don't go into offseason saying, "Oh, we're 100% bringing everyone back." Like it's a win that you are able to do that. It should be something that people should be happy about, and not just like, "Oh, we didn't do anything. It was boring and we didn't upgrade, and other teams are getting better while we stay the same." We're also again like, do we need to get much better? I mean, you want to try to get better, but if you don't have the room to get a ton better, it's not the worst case in the world when you easily could have been the back-to-back champions if you're just healthy last season. I get sick of seeing I'm the last person. You know me with the Packers, and I'm the last person to get complacent and like just be like, oh well, they're good enough. Like I want more. I want to have the best team. I want to maximize everything. But to me, this is not broke. Don't fix it. You get a couple guys, you patch things up a little bit, but keeping everyone together, I think was the best move.
Yeah, and I think maybe people forget a little bit. It's like this was the second year with Giannis, Drew, and Chris. Obviously, the first year we won the championship. Second year, as we know, Chris goes down with the injury. So it's like you really didn't get to run it back, if you want to say. And going into the previous year, trading for Drew, trading for Grayson Allen, that was a really good like off season re-signing Giannis. So people are just really overlooking that. And as you said, we really don't have many tradable assets outside of like 3 or 4 guys that are like, I don't know what their trade value is. And all of our picks are gone for the most part, other than this year's, which, as you said, I'm happy we kept it. So I'm really happy with the roster, and maybe we make a move before the year.
And you're on the trade? Most people are, but you're on the trade George Hill type the train for the most part.
I mean, yes, just because mainly because I want to see Javon Carter play.
Yeah,
I think he deserves, the backup spot. So that would be the only thing, and it's like, even some people are like, oh, why do we re-sign Serge? It's like, it's just a backup option. Like to have Serge Ibaka as like your 12th guy. Like it's
the person you were going to sign, they would have to sign something back big, and it's like the guy you're going to sign is not going to be any better than Serge Ibaka. Like you're not going to go sign. I mean, all they had left were vet minimums. You're not going to go sign anyone special. Like So, I do think a lot of the complaints just come from people not knowing exactly what they have to spend and thinking they can just go out there and like, oh, we can get Joe Ingles, Otto Porter, Gary Harris, and just fill our team with studs. And like, no, that's just not how it works. I'm definitely on board with trading George Hill, packaging it with Grayson if we have to. I mean, you probably will have to, and all that. Like, I'm not saying don't make. I'm not saying I'm anti any trade, but even if they don't, like I said, even if they don't, I'm fine with how this offseason's been. I'm I mean, we expected them to not do much and just run it back and everything. And you can trade guys in the middle of the season too if you have to. Like if you have to trade, if you do that trade later, you can do it later. If you see that George Hill still isn't playing well and Grayson is struggling, okay, you can trade them later. And like the value might go down a tiny bit, but it's not going to be anything drastic. It's not like those guys were like insane last season. But and also the George Hill hate, we kind of talked about it, but the George Hill hate is it's a little bit or not George Hill, the Grayson Allen hate.
I was gonna
is a little bit over the top, where like the dude was a 41% 3-point shooter in the regular season. He was a 41% 3-point shooter in the playoffs. Yes, he sucked in the Boston series, but like here's the thing. The Boston series was half of the playoffs. If you're gonna sit here and criticize him for the half of the playoffs he sucked, you also have to give him credit for the half of the playoffs he was amazing, because he was amazing in the Bulls series. Like it evened out to 41% from 3. Like as bad as he was in the second round is as good as he was in the first round. So people are just like, oh well, ignore the Bulls series and he was terrible. Well, that's half of the play. That was half of our playoffs. Like that doesn't. You can't just ignore that. That's like me saying, oh, ignore the Boston series. Like no, you don't
Yeah.
ignore either one. It's just okay. Like he's gonna have some bad games. He's a shooter. You're gonna have bad moments. You're gonna have good moments. You're gonna have hot stretches, cold stretches. He was good for us last season, and yeah, I mean that's all.
And you can't just, even if it was half playoffs, you can't just be like, oh, we got to get rid of him after one season, one playoff run, unless there is some crazy package. But like that's probably not going to happen. So I mean, he's played in big games dating back to Duke, playing in the championship. I mean, obviously that's not ideal as a Badger fan to say that, but it's like just nobody could hit a shot for us in that Boston series 3-point wise, really, as you've gone through. So
That's what's interesting too is Bobby wasn't good in that series. Pat wasn't good in that series. At least the end of the series. Pat was okay overall, but like Pat struggled in game 7. Bobby struggled in the last few games. Wesley Matthews struggled, but like it all gets put on Grayson Allen and George Hill.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I get it. Bobby and Pat have like earned a pass for like, they've been really good for us and stuff. I get that. But like people just completely ignore that. Like other guys suck too. Drew Holiday wasn't great either. I know he was asked to do more than he's expected to, yada yada. But like everyone just kind of points to like George Hill and Gray Snell, and that's it. And those guys ruined our seat. Like no, it was a team meltdown
yeah,
from 3. This was not just Gray Snell sucking. It was a team effort to completely choke and ruin, especially game 6, a great Giannis game. I'm still upset about it, but whatever. We're moving on. So, yeah, happy with the Bucks off season so far. If you had to grade it, what would you? I'll let you grade it first. What would you grade it?
I'd probably say, I don't know. I'd have to give it an A minus just because you kept the draft pick we wanted. You re-signed your guys. You really can't get much better. So it's like I have to pretty much give it an A because they're you like you said. How often do teams say we brought back all of our guys and playoff teams, championship contenders that be? So
I'm also A minus because I mean the only thing that improves it is again if you like can trade a George Hill and Grayson Allen and upgrade and whatever, like then yes. But yeah, this is about as good as they could have realistically done. And Pat, you got back for cheaper than you could have. That helped them out a little bit. So,
mhm.
and I am happy they re-signed Javon Carter, especially like it shows
Yeah,
that they're not just completely comfortable with, okay, we're just going to go ahead with George Hill and like no, I think they see that okay, like Javon can have a role and hopefully he has a bigger one next year, um, especially when we get to the playoff time. All right,
yeah.
and then I wanted to quickly talk about some of the other NBA free agency stuff going on. So the Rudy Gobert trade. What did you think of that? Because I haven't really talked to you about that yet.
I've kind of gone back and forth. I don't think it was a great trade for Minnesota at all. But I part of me wants to say that they're getting a little too much heat now just because some of the picks are so far away. But it's also like those picks are so far away, they could end up being really good picks. They're unprotected. They gave up, you know, 3 role players from last year and their first round pick this year. Seems like a really steep price for a guy that's fallen off in the playoffs, hasn't won much with Donovan Mitchell, and isn't a great on ball defender as good as he is as a defender, and offense can't shoot outside of the paint.
Do you understand the trade? I think it's a good fit. Him with Cat. You got Anthony Edwards with them as well. Um, I mean, it solves their defensive rim protection issues and it solves their rebounding issues. I get it. Like I would have been willing to pay a steep price for him if I was Minnesota, but not that steep. Like
Yeah.
you essentially get 5 first because Walker Kessler was a first round pick this year. So you essentially gave up your first this year and then 4 others. That's a lot. And then you also gave up Pat Bev. You gave up I don't remember who else was included in the trade, but
Malik Beasley,
couple other
Jared
guys.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. Like that's a lot. And it's just, I look at it and say, the chances of it being a disaster for the Timberwolves, I think, are higher than the chances of them winning a championship from it.
Yep.
Are each possible? Yes. I think it's possible that in a couple of years, this really pans out for them. If Anthony Edwards becomes a stud, Karl Towns remains, an elite player, Gobert is great defensively, it could pan out. And things break your way, it could pan out. But I have to say that I would guess the chance of it being the opposite end, if it had to be one of the two extremes, the disaster part is a little bit more likely to me, where it doesn't work out great. You're kind of still stuck, a little bit. You're not quite getting to the finals. You're not really a championship team, and you end up giving up 5 first to do that. But I also understand Timberwolves haven't been good in a long time. They probably saw, like, I was listening to Zach Lowe's podcast, and they were talking about this. We kind of saw it in, like, okay, getting Gobert can, like, kind of guarantee that you're around contention at least for, like, a while. And that's something this franchise does not have. Like, they have not had that at all.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what their playoff history has been, but it's like they have made it past the first round once in like 33 years. And so to be like, they should be able to do that pretty consistently from now on, at least be around that, range. So it's something that keeps the fans interested, like, from the business side of it. I get that stuff, but I don't know. I
Now,
don't know. It's just a lot to pay.
if you're quick question before, I don't know if we're moving on or what, but if you're the Minnesota GM, are you keeping or trading D'Lo?
Trading.
I agree. I think they're like a more efficient point guard away from kind of taking that step, and Cat just being tougher, which he kind of was last year, but that was also like a big part of Pat Bev. Like in like I don't know. I really do think, it was clear that he kind of toughened that team up instead of being soft, and now you trade him away. So I think you see teams trade role players for stars, and it usually doesn't work out great. Um, so that's where I agree with you with it. It's got a better chance to bust than be like, oh, this is getting us to the finals.
All right. That pretty much does it for our free agency talk. Other than, do you have any ideas on what's your guess on where Kevin Durant goes?
At this point, man, it seems like he might stay. I think there's a
I think Toronto. They're staying Toronto now.
I know I've heard that a lot. Like, I don't know if Toronto wants to trade. Like they said, Scotty Barnes and
That's the
maybe
thing.
Anunoby. Like,
It would have to be them. Like, you're not going to get him without trading them,
right?
right? Like, who are you going to trade to get Kevin Durant if you're not giving up Scotty Barnes and you're two good young players? Like, how would you get Kevin Durant otherwise? I think they have a good package for him if they are willing to trade those guys. And it sounds like they have the kind of the front runners right now. That's what it sounds like. But
I'm trying to think who the other. Oh, they said Siakam, but they're like, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know if I'd do that if I'm the Raptors. I love KD, but thinking.
I'm doing it, dude. You're getting Kevin Durant.
Well, I guess it depends who all you give up. Like, let's say, what if you have to give up Siakam, Barnes, and Gary Trent?
Yes.
Like, but who do you have left?
Kevin Durant.
But the Brooklyn Nets just had Kevin Durant and Kyrie out there in the playoffs, and they get swept.
Yeah, but I do think
I mean, now you have
KD
Fred
was bad in
VanVleet.
that series.
He was, but now you have. It's like, okay, so you have Van Vliet, you have Siakam and KD. I guess that's a pretty solid three, but who else is filling in there? I don't know. 3 years of him, and then maybe I don't know. It's really tough. I would have to see the trade package to be like yes or no, because it's giving up a lot of young assets. But at the end of the day, it's KD.
It is time for Tuesday top 10. We're doing NBA players under the age of 25. We have our lists. Mine's probably better than Brandon's, and I will let you start.
And number 10, I have a guy that slid down my list, Bam Adebayo.
All right. Do you have anything else to say, or you just?
I don't know, like brings it defensively, pretty inconsistent on offense, has showed flashes, but tough to put him again over some of these guys above him. Just I think they've shown more.
My number 10 is a guy I like a lot, and he's kind of similar to a Bam Adebayo type a little bit. Jared Allen, very good defensively. Um, 16 and 10 guy, double double guy. Again, similar to Bam. I think they're kind of interchangeable, and I just like both of those bigs in Cleveland with Mobley and Allen,
Mhm.
and his offense is like obviously a little bit limited. He's more of a traditional center in that sense, not a 3-point shooter or anything, but still just with the defense and he's good enough on offense to be a really nice player. So I have him cracking the top 10, and I actually have Bam number 9.
Okay.
If I had to pick like who has more potential of these two, and like I think it's Bam. I think he's got a little bit more of an offensive skill set, but both of them are pretty similar in that they're probably going to be defensive player of the year candidates for several years, and both are doubled. I mean, Bam's 19 and 10, Jared Allen 16 and 10.
Mhm. Very fair. I do not have Jared Allen on my list. I'm just gonna put that out there now, even though he
Yeah,
was an honorable mention.
that's fine.
At number 9, I have Mr. Pool Party, who had a coming out year.
Wow.
Um, I
What?
I
Over you
don't
have him over Jared Allen?
I don't like hopping on the train after 1 year, but he is so freaking talented on offense. Now, defensively, maybe there's a case for like why he wouldn't be on the list, but I just see his offensive potential, and I just see him taking even more strides next year. Yeah, and I like Jared Allen a lot, especially like his rim protection, like you said, brings it like 18 and 10 every night. But I don't know, I'm taking him over him right now as a top overall
I don't
player.
like this. Hold on. Because I don't like him over Bam. I don't like him over Jared Allen. He is, and I like Jordan Poole a lot, but he's more of a product of the system than these guys are. If he's not with Golden State, he's not nearly the player he is. Whereas I think Jared Allen, I think Bam, you put them anywhere and they're close to what they are. They're better players than Jordan Poole, straight up. But Jordan Poole is in a better situation, excuse me. So that to me puts that. I don't know how you can have him over Bam and Jared Allen.
I
He's
mean,
not as good.
I do pretty much agree with you there because I said to you during the year when we were talking about how good he was playing, I was like, if he is on a different team, maybe his numbers are, as good or maybe a little better, but his efficiency wouldn't be there as much because, they're targeting Clay, they're targeting Curry, obviously. But I don't know, he's really turned his offensive game up, even if he is partially a product of the system. Maybe next year we'll see that step.
This is really tough too. There's a lot of good guys on this list. I mean, our number 10 guys are very very good players. Um, and I like Jordan Poole a lot, so I'm not even gonna argue too much. But I just think with the system and everything, it's hard for me to argue him over those guys. My number 8 is LaMelo Ball. Might be a little bit low, but again, they're just guys I like a little bit more. There's a lot of good players on this list, but LaMelo, obviously a fantastic passer, 27 and 7 last year, and he was very good from three, 39%. Um, he was a good shooter, in high school and everything, and was kind of average his first year, but has become a good shooter. Need a little bit more help around him to maybe completely maximize him and like have him become a stud, but I like what I'm seeing so far. He's definitely one of the better young players in the NBA. So he is number 8 for me.
I have him in the same spot. I love watching him. He, just needs to clean it up a little bit. Sometimes he plays a little too fast,
Mm-hmm.
but that's part of his persona. And big time player, not scared of the moment. So I'm excited to see him continue to grow.
All right, give me your number 7.
Number 7, I have Brandon Ingram.
Wow.
Low.
Not low.
High, man. I don't think
No,
he.
I'm just kidding. He's someone who you can have in a variety. Again, there's so many good players on these lists. He's someone you can have. You could have him 5. You could have him off the list.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's kind of I'm just want to pull up his stats real quick. It's kind of a
What was he like?
real thing.
25 a game?
Yeah, so
23?
he was 23 a game this year, but almost 6 assists. Also put up 6 rebounds, 2.5 turnovers. Shot only 33% from three, which wasn't good. But the previous 2 years, 38%, 39%. Um, Still only 24. He's been in the league for like 6 years now. Pretty crazy. But I don't know. I feel like he really started to take a step when I think having McCollum there helped. And he just learning a little bit more what it takes to win.
One thing, and I will admit, he would be my number 11, but that's the one thing that I think I don't like is that he's already been in the league for 6 years. I don't know how much, like, that to me is like, not that he can't improve. He's still very good, but like, to me limits his ceiling a bit. Like,
Hmm.
it's hard to see guys taking a huge jump in their eighth, ninth year in the league. Um, So that's part of the reason I don't have him on the list, but he's still very good. And again, a lot of it's just because there's other guys I like more. Which, speaking of one of them, my number 7 is Anthony Edwards. I think he is going to be one of the better scorers. Should be a perennial 25 point per game scorer for a long time to come. He's already up to like 22 points a game. It's only was his second year last year. And again, someone I think has more potential than Brandon Ingram. So I'll put him ahead of a guy like that. And yeah, I mean, I like Ant a lot, and I think that team kind of goes as far as he's going to take them. You kind of know what Cat is at this point. Same with Gobert, and it's going to really be up to Anthony Edwards. If he becomes a star, borderline superstar, then yes, they have enough help around him to potentially win a title. If he's only good, then you're probably going to need another piece or two.
Okay, I like this because my next guy is maybe you'll have him six. But I think the top five are locked in, whichever order you want. But my number six, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Um,
I have. I'm just going to say I have him 6 as well.
oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So left Ant off this list. Probably should have had him 10. I had him 11. I went back and forth. I just want to see him next year really take the jump of like it being his team, but has been phenomenal. So I just want to say that quick. Shea, maybe people might say, oh, his numbers are a little higher because he's been on a bad Thunder team, but he's been really good. Didn't shoot well from three last year, but shot better second half of the year after the All Star break. 25, 6 and 5 ish. Um, like his ceiling continues to improve.
I love Shea. I think having some nice players around him will even just make him better. As you said, the only his inconsistency from three was really good the year before. I want to say he was like 40 something percent.
42% on 5 a game.
Yeah, and then he dropped to like 30 this year. That's the only thing is like a little bit inconsistency there, but I love him. I like the ceiling. I think it'll be fun to see him with some nice players around him for once. So
Yeah.
definitely excited for that. All right, let's move into the top 5. As you said, I think we will have at least the same 5 players in our top 5.
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty nice. I mean, the order can change, but I'll start. My number 5 is Zion Williamson, and could be higher. He was, he averaged 27 a game the last time we saw him play in 61 games, which that's a pretty big sample. It's just you haven't seen him play in a while. It's a little bit tough to like firmly say he's better than the other guys that I have ahead of him or that we're gonna have, in our top 5. So that's the only reason I have him 5, but could easily if he comes back and is a stud again, like you could move him up to 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a healthy, he's easily top 3. But So actually at 5, I have Trey Young. This might seem a little low, but I just we've seen his inefficiencies now. We've seen his turnover proneness. We've seen his bad shot taking. Really wasn't good in the Heat series, and I don't want to just be a recency bias, but I if I'm taking one of those guys, I think I'm taking Zion, even with the injuries so far. Well, healthy player wise. So it's a combination of both, but yeah.
I'll get to Trey Young in a sec, but my number 4 is Ja Morant. I'm a little bit I've become a little bit of you know this. I've become a little bit of a Ja Morant hater,
Mhm.
just more in the sense that like I don't like his antics, and I think he has become just a little bit overrated. Um, he can be inefficient at times, and I think the defense is really bad. Not that I mean Trey Young sucks at defense too, but I mean 27, 6 and 7 last year, which is really nice. But and like I said, I think he's become a little bit overrated, but he's still a great player. Could easily be second on this list, maybe if you really like him. Um, but I have him 4, and then I'll just my number 3 is Trey Young
Okay.
as who you already mentioned. I like him. Just I mean, he's such a proven shooter, such a proven scorer. Like there's nothing besides defense and even passer. There's nothing besides defense that really I need to buy into with him. Like it's just so proven at this point. Last year he was averaging 28 and basically 10 assists, 38% from 3 with all the attention that he draws. Um I mean at this point, yeah, like his offense is such a sure thing and draws a lot of attention and all that it's like I don't need to like with sure, Ja's more like athletic and stuff like that, but I mean their defense is pretty equally bad, and Trey's is probably a little bit worse, but their defense is both pretty bad. Ja's a way worse shooter than Trey Young, and probably just a worse scorer overall, like and a slightly worse passer. To me, Trey Young, there's more that I know he's good at.
Yeah. Okay, so at 4, I have Zion. Partially, like you said, easily case could be made for top 2-ish probably. But the health brings him down. And then at 3, I have Ja. Um, just have I think his elite playmaking and just his explosiveness puts me, him above Trey for me. But I definitely get the reasoning for you having Trey above. Who do you want to go first then for number 2? I think it might be pretty obvious, but
I think we're both the same. Jason Tatum is my 2. I'm guessing
mhm.
you're the same.
Yep.
And then Luca number 1. Um, I mean, just I don't think there's much of an argument many people are going to make about this. Like Luca's a top 3 to 5 player in the league, maybe even 2 if you want to go that far. Definitely like a superstar, future face of the league. Even he's already like a face of the league, but um, potential MVP down the road and stuff. Multi-time MVP, and Tatum's very good, but we've talked about this at length in the finals and stuff. I don't think he's a superstar right now. I think he's just a star. Bordering, I mean, he's like a top 10 player, but he's bordering on the superstar kind of range, but he's just not quite consistent enough. Whereas Luca is like he does it all the time. He is a consistent superstar. He's just better than Jason Tatum. Like I just don't think it's much of a debate. So, um, yeah, I mean, Luca number 1, Jason Tatum number 2.
Yeah, Tatum big leaps this year defensively, turning into kind of that two-way player, but Luka just on another level right now.
I was gonna say I do like that Tatum, and that's part of the reason like Tatum jumped some of these guys this year is he played much better defense. I think one of the things about Tatum, he's a little bit overrated in the mid range. I think he's like got the bag and everything, and he's nice and smooth, but he actually hasn't been that good for mid range, or at least he wasn't last year. He was around 37%, which like is just average, and so that's something that kind of has brought him down. Um, his 3 pointers were better, like especially in the playoffs. Like he was really good from 3, but not really good from 2. But yeah, overall, I'd say just that the defense combined with, he's going to be a really good scorer for a long time. So
Hmm.
Tatum's definitely a really nice player. And like I said, maybe coming into this season, I would have had him below Trey Young, maybe Ja, maybe Zion. But like now I think, the playoff run and what he did this season, I'm definitely a little bit more comfortable having him number 2. So yeah.
All right. The
All right.
chat. What's the chat saying? Anybody not
No,
like?
there wasn't that many people in the chat today. People were saying stuff earlier, but all right. That does it for this episode. Kept it pretty short today. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll have more on, other NBA news as it comes in. Another Tuesday top 10 next week. Then we got, let's see, like a month and a half Packers stuff coming up. But yeah, so we'll have stuff for you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode. Go Cubs also.
Go Brewers.
Peace out.